I know there was a lot of suppression of that unionization effort. And so even though I wasn't paid that well, I always felt like appreciated. But I was trying really hard to build up a New York operation in New York City, which like they weren't really that interested in. And I wanted to do a show remotely from New York, which they weren't that interested in. They wanted me to move out to LA. My now fiance, we were just boyfriend and girlfriend at the time, had just lived in LA and he didn't want to move back there. And so like it was like, I'm making 5 figures. Should I leave this relationship that I'm really excited about to go move out there, but still do the same thing? And like, I asked Cenk that and he was kind of like, yeah, you should. I'm like, why? No. like you guys want me to do the same thing and be on the road all the time.
See, I do respect that. Not selling it all, I think is really important. You know what I mean? Like you know, you don't want to give up your life. I think this is really important. And I think this is something that we should all look at, because we have this culture that says that if you're going to be successful, you can't have any personal relationships and shit like that. And it's hard. I mean, there is a balance to be found, but I've always found that, you know, when people are trying to sort of like make your world smaller, that's never a good thing. It's never good when somebody is trying to shrink your world. I don't know if you guys watched the show The Bear. Have you seen that show, The Bear? It's a really good show. Let it rip, right? That shit is so amazing, dude. Really good show about, you know, codependence and relationships and exercising too much control. But there's one part, guys, I'm telling you, as an artist, I've experienced this. They nailed it. It's when they send the pastry chef guy to Denmark and he goes over there and he studies desserts and he's living on the boat and he's all eager to learn. And the guy tells him something. It's kind of offhand, but he says, you can't spend all your time in the kitchen. He's like, you could spend 20 hours a day in here, but it wouldn't be helpful. Like, you need to have something out there. It's what you experience out there that you bring into your time in here that is the magic. And it's so true, guys. Like, is it important to grind and get good and whatever? Yeah, you got to hone your craft. You got to spend the hours. You have to do that work. But the magic, the source material, the shit that creates the art beyond the technical ability is the life you live out there. You want to be out there living and loving and failing and succeeding and having relationships and having experiences out in the real world, getting hurt and getting wins and experiencing joy and pain and sadness and all that, interacting. That's where you get that inspiration for the story. Like, your life needs to be a story of you living. It's really, really important. So this idea of like, you got to just hunker down and, you know, you don't want to sacrifice that living. If you're trying to live artistically, okay, if you don't want to live artistically and you just want to be a fucking cog that's going to just sit there and grind away for the capitalist machine, then don't do that. But you're not going to get a lot of joy out of that. You know, you're going to turn into somebody like Elon Musk. You know what I mean? Who's just a fucking douchebag.
Should I leave this relationship that I'm really excited about to go move out there, but still do the same thing? And like, I asked Cenk that and he was kind of like, yeah, you should. I'm like, why? No. like, you guys want me to do the same thing and be on the road all day.
Dude, like, why couldn't she do a remote show? That's what I wonder. Like, it almost seems like he just wanted her in the room. Is he a smarm? Right? Is he a smarm or what?
I'm going to do that from New York. I'm not going to move out there. And you're not really offering me any more pay. And it's a little presumptuous for you to tell me that I shouldn't be in this relationship anymore to go and work out there where, like, I'm not going to be the main host. I would only at most be a supplemental host. So it just became clear to me that I had to leave.
Could you talk a little bit about your entry-level experiences over at the Young Turks and now at the Majority Report? Could you compare and contrast a little bit and just kind of talk about what drew you to this independent business model? You know, obviously you could have been gunning for a role at CNN. Obviously you could have been after a panel job on MSNBC. You decided to go Young Turks. Then Majority Report FM. Just curious about.
Now, one thing I would like to note about getting a job at CNN or whatever, these anchors, and this is something that is bothersome to me. You know that I don't like nepotism. I don't like the wealthy class, the rulership class, being able to just insert their kids into these positions. But frankly, I am a little bit disgusted by the fact that when I go around and look at like anchors on CNN, or you go and look at people that are higher ups, the New York Times, or they're getting these television anchor jobs, like 9 times out of 10, they're kids of already wealthy and or powerful families. And it's a real fucking problem in our society that those big media jobs, the wealthy and powerful get to put their children into those jobs. And then those people in those jobs then go and protect the wealthy and powerful. And it keeps a closed system that is super problematic. You look at almost all of the top anchors, and they are from wealthy fucking families. They were able to go there and intern, and they get into these jobs, and they get selected because they're from that rulership class. And in fact, it's a problem in independent media too, because independent media has a lot of people that have the families that can finance them while they start a Twitch or start a YouTube or what have you. And so I'd really like to see a lot more working class people get into media and government. If you are a working class person, get your voice out there. We need the working class people to be getting into these environments. Or even better, running for office. We need to have working class people getting into government, because the people that are from families making, 200 grand a year, or the people that are making $2 million a year, they are a part of the establishment. Even if they're not a part of the political establishment, they are part of that sort of oligarchical establishment, where if we lose the election, they're going to be okay. So they can decide to not vote for somebody, or they can be critical of the Democratic Party on every issue, because if the Democratic Party loses, they're okay. But I really want to get more people that are not okay when the Democratic Party loses. I want those people getting into government and fighting for the change, because we're going to be more effective at it. I personally believe, guys, that we do need people like Emma. We do need Hassan. We do need Jon Stewart. Yes, of course, it's great. They have power. They have connections. They're in the rooms with connected people. But the thing is, though we need that alone is not going to get us progressive reform. We won't actually get progressive reform until we have working class people getting into those spaces. If we want a true revolution, guys, we need to have people from the working class infiltrating that world.
Me to do the same thing and be on the road all the time. I'm going to do that from New York. I'm not going to move out there. And you're not really offering me any more pay. And it's a little presumptuous for you to tell me that I shouldn't be in this relationship anymore, to go and work out there where, like, I'm not going to be the main host. I would only at most be a supplemental host. So it just became clear to me that I had to leave. And it wasn't, honestly, it was less the treatment, because I did have, and I was really close friends with Anna at this point, or I thought, and other people there like John and some of the and folks behind the scenes, like great people behind the scenes. They're like Cassie and Mary, and I mean JR and all these folks I really like there. But it was more just like Sam and I had spoken, been speaking for a while. I would be the main co-host here, and I would be able to be based in Brooklyn. And
dude, I love New York City.
At the end of the day, sorry, I get awkward. I get like nervous talking about some of this stuff because it's not in my wheelhouse. But I noticed that the coverage was becoming a bit more reactionary. Even then, yeah. And I had conversations with someone else who left at the same time, who also was saying, I don't know about the business side of things. They may have overextended themselves in certain areas. And
really? Now we're kind of seeing why maybe that Polymarket cash
Probably
came
they
in.
have, yeah.
Polymarket sponsorship happens.
Right?
Was
That's it. They're like losing revenues. They're spending. And oh shit, now we need to fucking polish Rick Caruso's knob. We need to fucking give Charlie Kirk a fucking two-fingered enema in order to, keep the shit afloat.
The right decision. And it was a great, experience for me in the sense of my gut said, I don't think this is going well for them. There's a lot of expenses here that don't seem to make sense. The main show is becoming more reactionary, and I don't necessarily know if it meets the moment. I'm concerned that they've plateaued or on the decline. And then what does that mean for me?
Dude, yeah, TYT is major decline, bro. Their channel is fucking dead. I don't know what their fucking deal is. I feel like, dude, yeah, they're
leave now, and I could work with someone who I really respect and learn from him. And that's what I did. And my gut was right. And it's the best move I've ever made.
Good for her.
Best decision I've ever made
Good
in my
for
life.
her.
And, Sam.
Dude, good for her. I mean, dude, I feel like I don't know her from the TYT days. Again, I never really liked or trusted them. But when I see her and Sam together, and I don't know a lot about them, but when I see her and Sam together, there's like a genuine chemistry there. There really is. There's a genuine chemistry. There's an earnestness. There's an earnestness, and there is they're not there just for the money. They're there for the heart and soul of what they believe in. And there's an earnestness and a genuineness about her and Sam and just the Majority Report in general that is really respect-worthy. It is respect-worthy, and yes, they respect one another, but when I see them getting sort of huffy or getting irked or getting energized by something, they're very real. They're being fucking real. But man, when you watch TYT and you watch Anna and Cenk, they are so fucking phony. Even when they get upset, it's oh, I am getting so upset right now. Oh, I'm upset, Cenk. I'm so upset. He's you're upset. I'm upset. We're both upset. Do you see how upset we are? Polymarket, please give me some money. Right? Please donate. They're so phony, bro. Everything about them is there's no real passion. And now for me, guys, you ready? I was a director. Okay. You see those awards right there? Those tellies on that wall, I was a director. I used to hire actors. That's what I did. And then I would get performances out of them. And dude, when I would watch TYT and I would watch Anna and Cenk do their shit, I'm like, dude, this is the worst acting I've ever seen. If these two showed up and they were doing a scene of two newscasters fighting about politics, I wouldn't hire them. I'd be like, dude, yeah, we'll call you. Thank you. Right? There's no way I would hire those two. It's so phony, bro. It's not real, dude. The whole thing is performative, but in really bad reality TV, dude. They're not good actors, And I mean, if you're going to be an actor, at least be a good actor. My God. Remember when Vivek was saying that shit? Remember Vivek was saying that we need more people like Whiplash? Did you guys see Whiplash? I mean, it's a great movie, but dude, Whiplash, that fucking teacher was such a douchebag. And the thing about it is that is another one of those capitalist myths. And it's specifically a myth that really gets tied to manhood. This idea that the way to get the best out of you is to abuse you. It's there's this ethos that says that the guy who abuses you is really getting the best out of you. You're supposed to take the abuse. It's good for you. It's the spanking mentality. It's the abusive boss mentality. But what it really is it's an excuse for emotionally dysregulated human beings to dump their shit. It's for people above you to offload their shit, for parents to offload their own problems and their own generational trauma into their kids through spanking or austerity, severe punishments. It's all bullshit, man. You get the best out of people when you empower them. And what it does with that shit is that shit creates an environment where abusers are allowed to be abusive. You know what I'm saying? It creates a culture of allowing abuse, that whole mentality. That's why they try to sell it.
You know, I was treated okay. You know, I had the luxury of like being able to save up and live at home, right? And that was what got me by. But it still was not a lot of pay, and a lot of, you know, I don't know. I don't know how much you guys want to get into it or whatever.
That's one thing that I do want to discuss, which again, this is not a slam on Emma, but this is talking about that class divide. Is people that have the luxury of being able to live at home, or people that have families that can, you know, they can put them in an apartment in New York City while they intern at the New York Times, or they can send them to DC and get them an apartment and pay some of their cost of living while they intern at the Washington Post or work a really low wage job. We underestimate how much of a significant leg up that provides for families that are born into families of means. Now, you don't want to punish people that are families of means. It's not about that. It's not about punishment. But the idea behind equity is to create environments where some of those opportunities can go to deserving people that can afford to do that. For example, even me here, it was Jenny's parents that helped us get this house. And then we spent a bunch of our own money gutting it and remodeling it. So it's not like we didn't put anything into it. We put all the work, all the sweat equity, and a lot of money. But I ended up with a house with no house payment. And that is how I was able to build a Twitch channel. If I had had a house payment, I wouldn't have been able to stream 50 hours a week for a year. I would have had to have had a job. And it was literally that socialism of not having a house payment that allowed somebody like me, a working class guy, to be able to grind his shit and build something. And so what's funny about it is when you look at it, it's oftentimes the only thing preventing working class people from succeeding is they don't have enough financial help. They're literally spending all their time surviving that they can't go out and be their magical, successful selves. And that's really what it comes down to, is people that are born into families of means are not struggling. The fact that she is acknowledging her privilege is incredible, right? And Hassan acknowledges his privilege, and a lot of new, younger people are acknowledging their privilege, which is very, very important. It's very important because they're breaking the myth. But I want to take it a step further, though, and say that we do have to recognize that most of the reason why people from the working class are not successful, most of the reason why they're not successful has nothing to do with their work ethic. It has nothing to do with their merit. It has nothing to do with their skills. It has to do with the fact that when people are taken care of, when they have a place to live and they have some of their expenses covered, they're allowed to then go out and go after these really big things. I believe it's attached to housing. The housing is our real problem, is people spend a third to half of their income just to have a place to live. And that's what kills us, because the landlords who own the housing are the ones that they're just extracting our wealth. You know, if there was some mechanism, the world would be so different. If you turned 18 and you got an apartment or a house that was rent-free, dude, that would be a game changer if you didn't have to pay for housing. Give people the chance to self-actualize instead of focusing on surviving. This is very, very important, because when you have housing, like right now, the biggest drain of wealth is that people with money, the ownership class, extracts 30% of the wealth from one or more human beings, depending on whether they own apartments or how many houses they own. But like most human beings are literally spending such a significant portion of their time earning money just to not be homeless. And then that money is going to a wealthy person who's not working at all. They're like sitting there just, I'm taking a third of your income and your income and your income and your income. And when you get to these big landlords like hedge funds or people who own 100 apartment complexes, you have like one family that is extracting a third of the wealth out of like maybe 20,000 people for their entire fucking life, bro. Dude, that's why if you have housing that doesn't cost you any money, now you do get to self-actualize. You do get to chase that dream. You do get to start that business. It's super important. The housing issue is I thought maybe like some type of UBI, or you get a stipend that allows you to purchase a house. You know what I mean? If everybody were in the ownership class, bro, that would solve a lot of our fucking issues, man. Again, I don't want to just harsh on the progressive voices and stuff. Okay, I don't. But I do want us to be very clear about the number of progressive voices in the independent media world that are also part of that ruling class, and how, like, sometimes their lack of sense of urgency, because they are unaffected by what happens politically, leads them to be more critical and less amenable to building coalitions, because they are not from the world of working class people. And we need to be aware of that, okay? And we need to be aware of that not because they're bad people, because I don't doubt their genuine nature. And I appreciate that they're out there working and using their platforms, right? It's so important and helpful. My point is, though, is they alone, advocates from the ruling class, talking about, you know, progressive policy change will not make the change. That's why we don't have it yet, because we've only had the advocates coming from the ruling class, and they've been doing a great job. They got us to where we are now. But now there's a handoff that needs to happen where working class people go out there and get in the government, and they get involved, and they fucking get in there and they make it happen. It won't happen until the working class people do it. It's important, guys. Okay? It's like the climate, the stage was set by the ruling class people that, you know, were able to build these infrastructures, but now it's a wide open world. We need us. We need us. We need the people whose parents made, you know, $13 an hour.